Climate change is boring. Don't get me wrong, it's incredibly important. It's just that the story of climate change is not especially compelling.
And that's when the carbon dioxide concentration reached 400 parts per million.
When I started making this video, I thought that everyone knew the story, but apparently I was wrong. What do you feel about climate change?
So I think Australia is the most affected by the climate change. That's because I'd rather say the ozone layer, the hole in the ozone layers, I reckon, yeah.
And whereas before there used to be a natural layer up there that blocked things,
that layer seems to be getting
it's getting thinner, something, and so more heat's coming down.
The ozone layer, and therefore our seasons are changing.
The hole in the ozone layer is causing a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, the hole in the ozone layer is a problem, but it's not a major cause of climate change. To recap, we are burning fossil fuels, releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which traps slightly more thermal energy, causing the overall temperature of the planet to rise. Have you changed anything about your life because climate change is happening?
I recycle now.
We recycle more.
We recycle a lot in England.
In England.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do like little things like recycling.
Do lots of recycling.
Recycling plastic and paper.
Just putting plastic in the right bin and paper in the right bin and stuff like this.
Okay, again, recycling is very important, but it's not really going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, which come mainly from energy use and transportation. So what I've learned is lots of people don't know how climate change works and don't know what to do about it. What's worse is there's so much confusion that some people don't think humans are responsible.
I'm a doubter.
What does that mean?
It means I don't know whether it is or it isn't.
You get so many conflicting opinions on it, and they all seem to be coming from reputable sources.
Here's the thing. The vast majority of climate scientists agree that climate change is happening and that humans are playing a significant role. But the public doesn't see this broad consensus because, well, there are arguments made to the contrary by businesses with vested interests, those who stand to lose if a price is put on carbon. Now, these people will make up stories, whatever they want. Things like Al Gore and his pals just invented climate change in order to make themselves rich and famous. Meanwhile, the scientists respond with carefully worded predictions.
That would result in a rising of temperature of between 1.4 and 2.6 degrees Celsius, that is within a 90% confidence interval, by the year 2050. I don't want to listen to this story again.
This is why scientists have had such a tough time informing the public about climate change. It's much easier to tell a compelling story if you can make up whatever you want than if you have to stick to the truth. Climate change is like Armageddon. Just instead of a giant Earth-crushing asteroid, it's slightly more of an invisible, odorless gas. And instead of the imminent destruction of the planet, it's a gradual warming over decades. See, our brains are well adapted to deal with clear and present danger. They're not so good at handling complex, long-term probabilistic forecasts, which is kind of why we have governments. They're meant to act in our best interests, especially in the case of complex long-term problems. And in fact, last year, the Australian government implemented a carbon tax, which seemed to be working great. It was reducing carbon emissions. And then this year, they repealed that carbon tax, the first government in the world to do something like that. And my question is why? You know, there is a UN climate summit coming up next month, and you can actually win a trip to go there and ask your questions to the world leaders. If you're between the ages of 13 and 21, head over to askwhywhynot.org, where you can submit a 1-minute video asking why not questions like, why would you scrap a carbon tax that was working? Why not join the rest of the world in putting a price on carbon? I mean, the real reason I find climate change boring is because we know what the problem is. The science is well established and the solutions are fairly obvious, and yet action is not being taken. So if you feel like I do, perhaps you should take some action, and maybe we can change this story and make it a little bit more interesting. This video was sponsored by the Climate Reality Project, but it really opened my eyes because I really thought we already all knew the facts, but clearly we don't. So maybe we need to spend more time educating the people around us.